Thank you, Chris. And this morning on Today's Family, are couples with children happier than couples without? Recent studies show being a parent might not be exactly what you dreamed it would be. Here with an explanation is psychologist Michelle Callahan, along with Newsweek senior writer Lorraine Ali, who's written all about this topic in this week's issue of Newsweek. Good morning to you both. Nice to have you here.
Good morning. Great
Lorraine,
to be here.
very interesting, I think, research that shows that conventional wisdom is, although we would think as parents you're actually going to be happier, it's the opposite.
Right.
What's happening?
It's really interesting. These recent studies have shown that, in fact, people that do not have kids may be happier than people that do have kids. Just some numbers, the most recent comprehensive study looked at like 13,000 American adults, and they found that parents, and they could not find any set of parents, be them single parents, parents of adopted kids, who were happier than people who had never had kids. And there are other studies showing that marital satisfaction decreases after the birth of the first child. It doesn't go back up until the last child leaves home.
There are a lot more pressures, I suppose, on a marriage. I mean, when you're dealing with children, also comes the economic pressure, the financial instability, all of that gets factored in as well.
Right, and those are fairly new pressures, maybe in the last 20 years when you have both parents working. You have a social system that's not exactly family-friendly. The health system, the education system isn't what it used to be.
So it's more of a new trend that you're seeing a little bit more with the unhappiness factor.
Yeah.
All right, it doesn't take into account, though, the fulfillment that parents feel and raising your child and the joy that they give you, I imagine. It's kind of hard to put a number on, right?
Of course. I mean, how can you quantify as a parent that deep love you feel for your child? It's a love that you thought you could never feel for anyone. I mean, and, you know, some studies do show that parents do indeed feel a greater sense of purpose in life. So there's that as well.
And Michelle, I mean, it seems like it's somewhat taboo to think or imagine that you would be unhappy or not as happy having children, right? I mean, why is it taboo to say, my life has become more difficult now that I've had children?
It's so unacceptable in our culture because children are thought of as a gift. They're thought of as bringing so much joy. So for someone to stand up and say, you know what? I'm pretty joyful already. I like my life as it is. Nobody wants to hear that. They feel like that's, you know, some kind of indictment towards them, like, well, we all should do what you're doing. And it's okay for some people to have kids and be happy and some people not to have kids and be happy. And what they find for the people who are less happy is that they have less time to themselves. There is the increased, you know, cost of raising kids. It's very demanding. It's establish a work-life balance. So there's just a huge shift in their lifestyle and a huge shift in their marriage, as you mentioned. So, you know, when the romance kind of goes out, that can certainly decrease people's happiness.
The other thing that has shifted, I think, as well over time, Lorraine, is that people are getting married later on in life and they've had full lives, they've had full careers. Is that part of the issue that's factoring into this?
Yes, definitely. I mean, people are getting married on average about 5 years later than they did 2 decades ago. So and
they're waiting to have kids.
Right, and the experience of parenthood is now competing with that life they had before kids. So, you know, you get a career raise or you have this great social life.
You could hop on a plane and take trips whenever you wanted to.
Right,
or go out to nice dinners.
Exactly, and instead of being able just to run out last minute and go see a film, well, you might be stuck at home that night.
That's right, and you write about that, this decision basically for people to wait. Sometimes it's like people almost have to whisper that they're waiting to have children because people on the spot. They ask you, when are you guys going to start a family? So again, that whole thing that this is somewhat taboo or you're perceived as selfish if you decide not to have children. Why is that? You
know, there's still a lot of societal pressure, and it's still that idea that kids bring you that ultimate happiness in life. And if you're not having them, well, then something's possibly wrong with your life or you're being selfish. And I think we still kind of have those old ideas about that.
And Michelle, I was going to say, you can add to that, but whether or not you decide to have a child, I mean, it seems like people feel it's completely acceptable to put you on the spot and ask you the question, right?
Absolutely.
And then when are you going to have a second? And then are you going to have more?
There's cultural pressure, there's religious pressure. I mean, this is a long standing through the generations expectation that people are here to have children, and that's what makes them happy in life. And so they don't have any problem. A total stranger, it's different if it's your mom, but a total stranger has no problem pressuring you and say, well, why not? And what's wrong with you guys? And well, what's your problem?
But let's give some helpful advice to couples out there are having children and want to be happier parents as a result, what are some things that we should be doing in our homes and with our children?
We really want to keep the romance going, because that's one of the main reasons why people are saying they're less happy, is because their marriage changes so much. So one of the things we want people to do is protect their romantic space. A lot of times a nightmare or a sick child staying in the bed one night turns into 2 nights, and sometimes parents
4.5 years later, as in my case, the child is still in bed with you.
The child stays in the bed, and it sometimes erodes that time that the couple would spend together. The other thing I would say is to schedule that romantic time together. You need to get a babysitter, a friend, a family member. You need those date nights. And it doesn't have to be extravagant. You don't have to dress up and go someplace expensive. You can take a walk, you can grab a slice. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but you just need some alone time to bond again with your partner to keep the marriage going.
And the best thing you can give your child really is a happy marriage.
Yes.
Giving them the example of 2 parents together.
You want your kids to see you being affectionate. You need to continue to keep your love life going and let them see that, so they learn healthy models for a healthy marriage and family.
Well, it is great advice and very interesting study. Lorraine Ali and Michelle Callahan, thanks to you both for coming in today.
Thank you.
And still to come this morning, we're going to take a look at high style in this summer, but on a lower budget. We're going to tell you where to shop for outfits that'll fool your fashionista friends. But up next, did she get smart? The story of Anne Hathaway and her alleged con man boyfriend, plus an update on Angelina's baby watch coming up right after this.